blue flag, blue flag. Don't lift. Flat out. You said drive in deep and dive bomb, right? Lock up and hit you into diffuser? Oh, keep down the expletives. I'm live. Hey, that wasn't me. If it happens, it sucks to suck. That is very true. No, we don't. Yeah, so make sure you put it on strict for quality. Oh, and just change everything up and make it full heavy rain. Man, I wanted to commentate with an umbrella. If anybody wants an interview in between qualifying and the race, message me and I will invite you to my party. Because I will be a lonely boy. Are you ready to rumble? Yeah, good luck, guys. Don't make me work too hard because I'm by myself. Good luck, have fun, don't suck. Oh. All right, everybody. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the UDL F1 League Italian GP. Qualifying lobby is now starting. If none of you have yet, make sure you hit that like button, like the video for me, and subscribe so you can watch more of these races. We do this every weekend on Sundays at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. If anybody wants in on the league as a substitute or as a full-time driver, please say something in chat, leave your PSN, we'll add you, and we'll talk to you about it. We'll make sure that you're a nice, clean racer and everything, and then you can be in. Kind of got a little bit of a cough for some reason at the moment, so if I go mute, that's probably why. So here we are in Italy at the Italian GP here at Monza. Now I gotta be professional. Shoot. Alright. Hello everybody and welcome to the UDL F1 League. My name is Mr. Damage, and here today we are at round 14 of this championship at the Italian Grand Prix at at Monza. I will be solo commentating today as Jonathan is having a little bit of internet issues. So at the moment the session is just starting and there will be a few drivers eager to get out onto the track and get their first laps in. It looks like the two Red Bull drivers are going to be getting out soon. Here comes Space. And it looks like a McLaren driver of Get That Money and Run did get the clean air advantage, which is really good for him. Go on over here, turn on lap data, make sure I turn on the tires. So this track is way different than all the rest. There's a high full throttle percentage on this track, and a lot of the corners are stop-start, or at least the first sector, and the beginning of the second sector is all about stop-start and all about getting that toe. All the straights on this track are really long, and all these drivers are running as little downforce as they can to be able to go fast down those straights. So it'll be really interesting to see who has this qualifying pace and then who has a car that's going to be better in the race on the tires that has just a little bit more downforce than everybody else. As we have a few drivers coming around now through the Lesmos here. The first driver that will be going across the line will be Get That Money and Run with Sniper Pig, the second one to come across the line, and it looks like Breezy will be the third one across the line with Space Hero right behind that group. See, Breezy is going for the toe strategy here, and it looks like he's backing off a little bit, so that's a good idea for him to get it going. So I'm gonna go ahead and watch Get That Money and Run start his first qualifying lap of the session. I'm going to go ahead and watch his start, but I might jump on over to Sniper Pig, who seems like he has the raw pace here at this track according to time trials and practice runs. So he comes off into this turn 1 chicane, one of the hardest chicanes in Formula 1 to get right. You have to slow down so much. That traction zone is so hard. That second part of that corner just feels like it goes forever. As you come around this long sweeping right-hander completely flat out in today's F1 cars up to the second chicane here. This one you can take in third gear. You can ride those curbs quite a bit, and you want to make sure you extend that exit on that curb just enough to where you don't touch the gravel. And here we come through the Lesmos now, through Lesmo 1. Pretty good line there. And then Lesmo 2, these two corners are definitely the hardest on the track for some people. It's either these corners or Parabolica that people usually struggle with as we come down the back straight now up to the Ascari chicane. This corner is very easy to spin on in this third apex here. If you touch that curb, you can lose grip, just like Get That Money and Run did in the McLaren there. He either lost grip and almost spun, or he invalidated himself. His sniper pig comes into parabolica now. So easy to extend this corner just a little too much and go over that white line. Let's see what Sniper Pig can put in for his first flying lap. He goes a 120.1. Pretty good lap time out of Sniper Pig here. Set his banker lap. Space Hero comes across the line. Right behind him goes a 120.8. Bossman, the next driver to cross the line, goes a 121.8. So on the medium compound tires, that's a pretty good lap there on those medium compound tires. As I'm going to jump around here, let's see what we got. Get that money and run, comes across the line to start another lap. Honos goes up into P3 with a 120.8 as well. Pecan coming down the back straight now up towards the Ascari chicane. Let's see what he can do. We're going to ride on board with this Ferrari coming up towards the Ascari chicane. The left, right, and then flat out through this left-hander. It's very easy to do exactly what he did, and I'm pretty sure that will be a lap invalidation for going just a little too wide. He might get lucky and keep the lap, but I would be very surprised if he does. We have the Racing Point right behind him of, I believe, Dino. It could be Drew Yu, but let's see if Pecan's lap counts, and it does. He goes a 120.4 to put himself into P2 as Drew Yu pulls off into the pit lane and aborts his lap time. As we have a few drivers that are probably going to be pitting here. Here comes Sniper Pig into the pits, and it looks like Space will also follow him into the pits. So I'm going to jump over here to Duck and the Mercedes going through Parabolica now. Let's see what he can do for a lap time here in his first run in this qualifying session. He goes up in a P6 with a 121.7, and a driver right behind him of, let's see, who was that? I believe it was Glenn Coco, who just pulled into the pit lane. So that driver decided to back out of their flying lap there as Real Black Dino puts in his first flying lap of the session. Goes a 122.1 here. And this track, like I said before, is all about how much you trim your car out as Honos pulls off into the pit lane. Space is going on yet another flying lap. He's 700ths up on his fastest lap time here, going into the Lesmos, but he just went a little bit wide. His boss man leaves the session for some reason. Must have had some sort of an issue there. So here comes Space down this back straight up towards the Ascari chicane as Pecan peels off into the pit lane. Let's see if Space is going to continue on this lap or not. It looks like he cut that first part of the chicane, so I wouldn't be surprised if he backs out of it here. And he might just be. Not quite sure. It's hard to tell if they've really backed out of a lap or not. He swings out to the outside and goes into Parabolica like normal. See if he exits with full speed. He does. And he does end up coming into the pit lane. So we'll hop right over here to the Mercedes. He goes into the pit lane as well as get that money and run in the McLaren right behind him. Next drivers to cross the line will be... It looks like the next driver to cross the line will be Real Black Dino. Let's see if he pulls into the pit lane or if he continues on this lap. I didn't quite get a chance to catch that Delta time, so let's see if he can improve on his lap time here. And it doesn't look like he will be. He peels off into the pit lane now. So we'll jump on over here to Man in the Mercedes. He's jumping around just a little bit as a fill-in driver. Let's see what he can do for this Mercedes team. He comes across the line now, and he puts himself up into P8 right beside of his Mercedes teammate. And Drew Yu coming across the line now to start his first flying lap of the session, as well as Glenn Coco, who just started his. Next across the line, we'll have Breezy here in the Williams. Williams driver has missed a couple of races this season. Let's see what he can do here. And he pulls off into the pit lane. Must have invalidated his lap time. Now we'll watch the Ferrari driver of Racer X come around the final corner. He will take this flying lap, and he goes up in a P3 with a 120.7. So the Ferraris, two of them in the top three, and then the two Red Bulls are P1 and P4. So this is going to be a tight race between the Ferraris and the Red Bull drivers. So we have Sniper Pig on yet another flying lap. Let's see what he can do up towards that second chicane. I'm going to hop on board with some other drivers here to see where they are on track. Man coming up towards the Ascari chicane once again, but he's 2.5 seconds slower this lap. so he will be backing out of it. And we have Glenn Coco coming through the Ascari chicane now. What a great camera angle this is. You really get to see almost from the driver's perspective. It's really nice having that camera angle in the car to just watch their heads turn in towards that apex at every corner. And here comes Glenn Coco around Parabolica now. Almost pushes it just a little too wide there, but it looks like he'll be okay. You always want to make sure to stay to the left on the exit there, because there can be a bump there that can mess you up. But Glenn Coco has his lap invalidated, so Drew Yu comes across the line right behind him with a 122.5. But Glenn Coco is really going to want to get a lap time down here. As I'm going to hop back up here to the Red Bull driver, Sniper Pig, who seems like he backed out of that lap. Racer X peels off into the pit lane now. See, there's another driver here in the McLaren. If Get That Money and Run crosses the line, but he was on his out lap, so that lap time will not count. Jump around here, see if I can find anybody else coming across the line. We've got, I believe Honos is the next closest person coming through the Ascari chicane now. He's a couple of tenths down, and he runs very wide into the gravel. Let's see if he can keep it out of the wall. No, he doesn't, but thankfully for him, he kept all of his wheels on the car. And also it's great that he's sitting on the track and waiting for these drivers to come by, so he doesn't pull out onto the track dangerously like Sebastian Vettel or Lance Stroll did in the real life GP. So I'm going to jump back over here to these drivers that just got by him here. Let's see if I can pick up on him coming across the line. We have Black Dino coming across the line now. He does not improve. Glenn Coco improves on his lap time and puts in his first lap time of the session. There's a 123.1 for P13. So we have Lucas coming around on his out lap and Get That Money and Run, half a tenth down on his time going into the Parabolica. Let's see if he can make up that time. He runs wide, and he will definitely have that lap invalidated and his next lap, so that's going to be terrible news for him. See where Sniper Pig is on track now, and he just came out of the first chicane. He did not improve on his laps in the last few laps. As a friendly reminder, as Lucas crosses the line but does not improve on his lap time, in this league you have to start on the same tires that you qualified on, just like in Formula 1. So even though we're switching lobbies, you still have to start on those soft compound tires if you qualify in the top 10 on them. And it looks like Man is the only driver on the medium compound tires in this qualifying session, and this might be the best qualifying session. At least you have, at least this is the best qualifying session to use those medium compound tires because of the lack of corners on this track. As there's yet another spinner here of Sniper Pig coming out of the Ascari chicane. He is spun right in front of the Williams driver of Breezy. Let's see if that hurt Breezy at all as he comes through Parabolica now. Let's see if this will help him any. And it looks like he'll be able to set a lap time here. Let's see what he does. He does a 120.5, puts himself up into P3. We have yet another spin. I'm assuming at the Ascari chicane. Yes, it is. It's Lucas in the Haas who spun out at the Ascari chicane. He's currently in P8 in this qualifying session as the two Ferraris come across the line now. A little bit of tactics here with the toe as Racer X pulls out from behind Pecan just in time. So Racer X going for this hot lap here in that number 13. Let's see if these two drivers continue working together back and forth and give themselves a little bit of extra time throughout this qualifying lap. As Bossman comes across the line for Renault and puts in a 120.198, only 200 slower than Sniper Pig's pole time, provisional pole time here, with only 5.5 minutes left in this qualifying session. Looks like Pecan is backed out on Breezy. Breezy misses the Ascari chicane, and he is definitely not going to be happy with this one. He's going to really be trying to rush to get back into the pit lane and put on some fresh tires so that he can get out for yet another lap. As he comes around Parabolica now, let's see if he peels off into the pit lane. It looks like he will. There he goes. So Breezy, unfortunate for him, going straight through the Ascari chicane. As Racer X is a 10th and a half up on his best lap time. Let's see if he can reel in just a little bit more pace and get past Breezy here and put himself on the second row beside of his Ferrari teammate. Let's see what he can do as he comes across the line now, and he will go a tenth. He goes a tenth, 1.8 seconds faster, does a 120.513, but is 1/100th of a second slower than Breezy in that Williams. So Breezy still holds on to that fourth position as Bossman's coming up towards the Parabolica now, but he is on an in lap. Looks like he's going nice and slow. Here we have this Real Space Hero coming up towards Parabolica now. Let's see what kind of lap time he can do. Maybe get himself up onto the front row with his Red Bull teammate. There's yet another yellow flag in Sector 3. These drivers are really going to struggle with the grip coming through the Ascari chicane as Real Space Hero comes across the line now. Let's see what he can do. He goes a 120.604, but it's just not quite enough to put himself up any positions. Let's see if there's any other drivers coming close to the line now. Here we have Real Black Dino coming around Parabolica now. Let's see if he can improve on his best lap time. He does complete the lap. Let's see what he can do. And he is 14 thousandths of a second slower than his last lap. So it's not going to be great for him as Duck puts in his lap with a set of medium compound tires. These Mercedes drivers going for this alternate strategy, and I believe it is the right call here as Honos comes across the line to start yet another flying lap. Real Space Hero clips the grass on the inside of the first Lesmo, and that could severely hurt his time. So that's going to be a big mistake for Space here. Let's see if he can have enough time to maybe go for one or two more laps here on this set of tires. Yeah, he's over 3.5 seconds off on this lap. Going to jump on over here to Honos. Let's see if there's any other drivers coming up towards the Ascari chicane. Green Bean is coming towards the Ascari chicane now, so I'll jump over to him as there's yet another yellow flag in Sector 3. Not quite sure who it's for. We might find out here soon. Oh, there's one now. There's one now for Duck. He has spun it at the exit of the Ascari chicane, and the racing point driver of Real Black Dino comes around there. Might need a new pair of underwear because that Mercedes was sitting right in front of him coming around that final corner. And it looks like the Mercedes has backed out of his lap here as Lucas passes one of the drivers to start yet another lap. As now all of the drivers are coming out of the pit lane to start their final flying lap. Glenn Coco comes across the line to put himself up into P9 on row 5 of this grid beside of his teammate Lucas in that Haas seat. So these drivers are really looking for these valuable points here in the midfield, and it's going to be really key for these guys to start as far forward as possible, as we have quite a few drivers on their out laps now. It looks like Pecan and Racer X are doing the Ferrari strategy once again. They're learning from the real life GP that maybe this will work. Maybe they should back up the rest of the field and try to win it that way. As it looks like Man's coming around the final corner now here at Parabolica. Let's see if he can improve on his lap on those medium compound tires, make this strategy work for qualifying, and he does improve on his lap time. There's a 121.6 on those medium compound tires, but it's just not quite enough to get himself into that top 10 to where it would truly matter. So here we have Space Hero peeling off into the pit lane, and Breezy right behind him getting as much tow as possible before he pulled off in that Williams car. Here we have Bossman coming through the Curva de Grande and coming up towards this second chicane. See this nice left-right chicane in third gear. It's really a lot faster than it looks coming around the track. It feels way faster in the car as Get That Money and Run starts his flying lap. Lucas coming up towards the Ascari chicane now. Let's see if he can improve on his lap time, maybe get himself up higher in this top 10. He is 4/10 up on his previous best lap time. Let's see if he can get Ascari right. He does. So let's see if he can go through Parabolica and not invalidate himself, and he might jump up a couple of positions here. If he can get into the 120s, he'll have P9. He can get past his teammate of Glen Coco if he does go into the 1 minute 20s. So let's see what he can do here. He comes around Parabolica now, and he will go up into P9 as the session now has ended. So Bossman puts it onto pole position so far with a 120.147, but his hopes might be crushed by the Red Bull of Sniper Pig, who is 2.5 tenths up. Pecan is half a tenth up on his previous best lap time, as Breezy comes across the line, put in the first 119 of the session with a 119.6. Let's see if Sniper Pig can pull out any more time here, or else Breezy might have the pole position here in Italy. So he comes around Parabolica now, and let's see what he can do. Comes across the lap, the finish line, and he goes a 119.8, puts himself up into P2. Let's see what Pecan can do in this Ferrari. He goes a 120.301, and Racer X does not improve on his lap time. Get that money and runs, going very slowly up to the line, and that will be it. Breezy gets the pole position for Williams here in the Italian GP, the UDL F1 League. Oh, wow. My voice hurts. And John, get your internet working, bud, because I'm lonely in here. Don't go anywhere, anybody. We just got done with qualifying. The race session will start here soon. We're all going to leave this lobby now so that a couple of extra drivers can join the session. Oh, that was a great qualifying session. Everybody put in some excellent laps there at the very end of that session. Unbelievable lap times out of those drivers, especially Breezy, putting himself into the 119s first and puts in a 119.6. Unbelievable lap time from him. As I scroll over here to time trials, I'm going to look at the time trial pace from these drivers here at the Italian GP. Let me view the leaderboard here. Friends leaderboard. Let's see what we got. So Breezy actually is the fastest driver on the leaderboards here for time trials with a 119.339. And then Sniper Pig was the second fastest here. Sinister Owl, who sadly could not make this race, put in a 119.9 in time trial. And Man, very strong pace in this in time trial here, gives a 119.99. So if he would have qualified on those soft compound tires, he could have very well been up there with those drivers at the front of the field space with a 120.0 in time trial. Pecan's best lap time, a 120.2. Hefty Bag, unfortunately, would not make it here. He went a 120.2. Let's just laugh about this lap time here, a 120.455 from some pleb named UDL Damage. Not quite sure who he is, but he needs to get a little better. Kill the Birdman, 120.5, get that money and run, and all these drivers down here. But look at Bossman. You see that lap time? A 120.797. Okay, now I'm about to go over here, and I'm going to look at the qualifying results that he got. He got a 120.147. He went 6.5 tenths faster than what he could produce in time trial in this session. Great, honestly, really good effort there from Bossman to put himself as high as he has up in the top 3 positions here. As I'm going to look over here to the qualifying results. So Breezy puts it on pole position here for the Williams team with a 119.679. Sniper Pig is right beside of him on the front row for the Red Bull Racing team with a 119.895. The only 2 drivers to reach the 119s. Bossman, P3 for the Renault team with a 120.147. Pecan and Racer X, the 2 Ferraris right behind him at a 120.3 and a 120.513. Real Space Hero in the Red Bull. In the second Red Bull qualifies P6 with a 120.6. Get that money and run. P7 for McLaren with a 120.6. Honos P8 and for Alfa Romeo with yet another 120.6. This midfield battle is going to be absolutely nuts here in the Italian GP. P9 Lucas for Haas, a 120.838. Glenn Coco P10 with a 121.0. Man P11 on those medium compound tires, a 121.6. Really looking for a lot more from Man there. His time trial pace really didn't show to this qualifying session here. Duck in P12 here for Mercedes with a 121.7. Real Black Dino and Drew U for Racing Point rounding out the field with a 121.8. Oh no, they're not rounding out the field. 121.8 and a 122.4. There's a couple of drivers that will be joining the session here late. The McLaren driver of Greco will be joining this race session late and will be starting from the back of the field, as well as Glenn Coco. Glenn Coco will be starting from the rear as well. We don't have any grid penalties for this race, so it will be exactly as the qualifying order shows it here. Yes, so in multiplayer, in the settings here, you can see car performance is set to equal. So the only thing different about all the cars is the liveries. All the cars are exactly the same. They have traits from all the different cars, and they're all put together. Like, for example, the power unit is a Ferrari power unit. The chassis is a Mercedes chassis, but the wheelbase is a Red Bull Racing wheelbase with the Red Bull Racing rake. They basically put all of the best parts of every car together and produced these beautiful machines that are a lot faster than the normal performance cars. They're around a tenth faster, I would say, because time trial is unrealistic anyways, because you're on really low fuel and you can run all of the ERS deployment all the time, and so it's not really that realistic. Yeah, turn it on random grids, Pecan. That would be really nice. But yeah, in this game there's also the multiplayer cars, but the problem with the multiplayer cars is that you never know who your teammate will be in the session, and so you never know until it starts. Yeah, you can have it set to realistic. You don't have to drive with it equal. You can set it to realistic, but that wouldn't be very fair for these drivers, because then the Mercedes, the Red Bulls, and the Ferraris would have a clear advantage. So if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to the channel here. Share it across all platforms possible. Try to get this brand growing here in the UDL F1 League. We usually would have a second stream going on our YouTube channel, but Jonathan is failing the November challenge here. Can't really say it exactly or else I'll get demonetized, but so he is sadly not here commentating today. So it'll just be my stream here for the replay of this race, and I mean, who else would you want commentating this? I mean, come on, I'm like the best shoutcaster you'll ever meet. I didn't get asked for any interviews this time, so gonna go straight into the race. Whew! I'm pumped up, ready to rock. I'm ready to blow my nose. Alright, so I believe Pecan has finished the grid here. He's changed the settings for the final time. Corner cutting in the race is set on regular instead of strict, but we do enforce exceeding track limits if you do it too many times. So we really want drivers to keep it in between the white lines as much as possible. We've had a little bit of issues this season, but it hasn't been enough to give anybody penalties that the game hasn't given them, which is always great, as we are now waiting for this lobby to be filled out. So I guess I'll go through every team and kind of show you guys who is racing here. So the Mercedes team has the drivers of Man 918 and Eat That Green Bean, aka the Nameless Duck. Scuderia Ferrari has Pecan and Racer X. A great, nice, stout lineup for that team. They're going to be looking to try to challenge for this Constructors Championship, as well as Red Bull Racing with your current world drivers, with your current UDL League Championship leader, as he is at the top with 204 points, with the Ferrari driver of Pecan right behind him at 196, and then a huge gap to Greco in P3 at 86 points, and Apex in P4 at 84. So the Constructors' Championship is pretty close. Red Bull Racing at 302 points, Ferrari at 277, and McLaren at 168 in P3. Renault have 147 points, but this race they're going to be taking a huge hit in that department because they only have one driver for this race, who will be Bossman. Sinister Owl sadly could not make this race here this weekend. Haas is in P5 in the Constructors' Championship with Lucas and Glenn Coco always bringing home those solid points-paying positions. Williams in P6 in this championship. Usually they have Breezy and Dollar High, but Dollar High is not here this weekend, as well as both of the Toro Rosso drivers. We have one Alpha driver of Honos this weekend. Maida is not here for this race, as they are at the bottom of the Constructors' Championship at 15 points. So they're going to be looking to get some good points here in this race and kind of bring themselves back up into this Constructors' Championship. As the race lobby has now started, we're loading on in. Beautiful look at that Ascari chicane with those beautiful sausage curves right there in the middle. Is everybody ready? Because I'm ready. I'm pumped up. I got my Sprite lemonade. I'm ready to rock. Hoping for a really nice competitive race here. That qualifying session was really nice. Let's see if this translates over into the race. Breezy putting on pole position, so maybe we'll have a nice race at the front here with Sniper Pig, Breezy, Pecan, Racer X, and Bossman as well in that front battle. As once again, Breezy is on pole position with Sniper Pig right beside of him on the front row. Bossman lining up in P3 for the lone Renault car in this GP. Pecan and Racer X right behind him in the Ferraris. Real Space Hero in the second. Red Bull lines up P6. Get that money and run in P7. Holnos in P8. Lucas in P9. And Glenn Coco rounding out the top 10. Once again, we have two drivers that joined up late, Greco and Glenn Coco. So it looks like Greco will be starting in dead last with Glenn Coco right in front of him. Go ahead and turn on the no, I don't want that. I'm going to go ahead and look over here, make sure all the drivers are on the correct tires, and they are. The entirety of the top 10 is on the soft compound tires. So, here we have Breezy coming around Curve de Grande now, and he is way ahead of the rest of the field. He's going to want to slow down a little bit, make sure his tires are warm as he cuts the chicane on the warm-up lap. So, not exactly the best line there to be taking. We have a Bossman fan in the chat. If Bossman gets on the podium this race, that'll be a great effort from the Renault driver. His last podium was a few weeks ago. Let's see if he can replicate that performance and get on the podium once again for the Renault team. That Renault team is always a podium threat, but they're just not as consistent as the Ferrari or the Red Bull drivers. So they're not always up there like Sniper Pig or Pecan, for example, but they are always lurking in the background. And this driver back here in the very back of the field, Greco, we'll have to keep an eye on him. See how many positions he can make up here in this race. Try to get some good points for this McLaren team and for his driver's championship hopes to try to keep that P3 fight alive. Apex Glide is not here this weekend for the second Ferrari seat. So once again, they have a fill-in driver in that Ferrari for Racer X. Sooner or later, Apex might get booted out of that team for not showing up to many races, as the drivers now take their grid slots. Jumping up to Breezy here in P1. Sniper Pig Not Red Bull in P2, Bossman in P3, Pecan. Oh, this is a great camera angle right here. I wish I could hold this for the start. As the lights are coming on now. 4 lights, 5 lights, and the lights are out, and away we go for the Italian GP. Breezy gets off to a pretty good start here, and we have a nice long run up towards turn 1. Breezy and Bossman and Pecan are side by side. Breezy and Sniper Pig side by side, and it looks like Breezy comes through in P1 through the first corner. And let's see if there was any sort of a spinner here. It looks like Real Black Dino's put on the gravel, but nobody lost too many positions there. As Pecan jumps up into P3 in front of Bossman, but Bossman's not going to stay behind them very long. They're coming up towards this second chicane, but Pecan just holds on to that P3 for now. Sniper Pig runs off into the gravel just a little bit and loses just a little bit of time to the Williams driver of Breezy as Lucas spins it in the second chicane. Get that money and run. Loses a couple of spots there to Real Space Hero and Honos, as it looks like the Glen Coco in that Haas seat went a little bit wide in the second Lesmo, as the top 3 drivers have already pulled a little bit of a gap to Bossman MP4, and they're nose to tail here. Looks like Sniper Pig's going to pull up to the inside going into Parabolica. Let's see if he can make this move stick. Breezy trying to hold it around the outside, and he does, and Pecan looking up the outside of Sniper Pig as Sniper Pig went for that attacking move. So after the first lap, Breezy sets the fastest lap time and comes across the line. He will stay in P1, Sniper Pig in P2, and Pecan jumps up into P3. Breezy going a little bit of defensive here going into turn 1, but Sniper Pig, nice and patient, bides his time behind the Williams driver here, but he's going to be wanting to get past this Williams and get away from the field, as he normally does. And we have Greco coming through the field now. Him and Green Bean are fighting it out. They're side by side coming through Curve Grande now. Greco runs a little bit wide onto the grass. He'll have the inside line for the second chicane. Let's see what he can do, as he does get past the Williams driver of Duck. So Greco up into P9 in this race already, and around 1.5 seconds behind his teammate in that McLaren car, as the top 5 drivers are all separated by around 2 seconds or so. So a great race here. Top 4 drivers right there near each other, as Breezy loses it and Pecan loses it and collects Bossman. Oh no, and there's a huge crash coming out of Ascari. All the drivers are getting collected here, as it looks like Pecan was just spinning around like a top, and Eat That Green Bean is out of this session as he has lost his front wheel, as there's quite a few drivers caught up in that crash. Unbelievable scenes here as Racer X pulls into the pit lane to get a new front wing. And Breezy and Sniper Pig side by side going into turn 1. Breezy has the inside line and will keep that P1 position from Sniper Pig. But huge crash there coming through the Ascari chicane. All started with Breezy going having just a little bit of oversteer and correcting it, but then Pecan just missing the final part completely. Had a little bit of oversteer in the second half of that chicane and went straight into the gravel, spun back across the track, and sadly collected the Renault driver of Bossman, and from that, everything else was history. So now we're not nearly as close together as we were before. The closest battle is Glen Coco and Greco. Greco already up into P4 from P15 on the grid, so a great start from him here on lap 3 of this session. And jump back up to Sniper Pig and Breezy for this battle for the lead. Sniper Pig 4.5 tenths behind Breezy, then the Williams. That Ascari chicane is just going to get harder and harder as these drivers go. Let's see if he has a look down towards Parabolica. He throws him a little dummy, but doesn't quite have enough speed to go for it. Breezy holds on to that P1 at the end of lap 3. But Sniper Pig, with the help of a lot of ERS deployment, pulls alongside of Breezy going up into turn 1, and it looks like he will pass Breezy, and he has DRS and ERS deployment, so he flies right by Breezy, but he still goes defensive for the corner here, and Breezy is not going to just give up this position for free. Breezy will be coming right back at him as soon as possible as they come around Curve de Grande now. Sniper Pig might be running just a little bit less downforce than Breezy, so he might be a little slipperier down the straights, which would make it very hard for Breezy to get by. As Breezy loses it in the second chicane. Breezy spins it, trying to get back at Sniper Pig, and Real Space Hero comes through to take P2, and Greco P3, and Glen Coco in his best position so far this year in P4. Great drive from him already. See if Glen Coco can make his way onto the podium. He only needs to pass one more driver now, and that would be Greco. If he can stay in that DRS of Greco, he might be able to be pulled all the way up to that Red Bull driver of Real Space Hero in P2. There's been quite a bit of drama here as Glen Coco has a little bit of oversteer coming out of the Ascari chicane there. A little bit of a moment, but he holds it all together, and he stays in that DRS range, crucially, of Greco in the McLaren. As long as he can stay in that DRS range, he will be really set to just ride along behind him, save ERS, and keep close enough to just get towed all the way to P2. And just look at how much he gains here. He gains half a second on one DRS straight. DRS is so powerful in F1 2019, real life and in the game. Greco might be faster, but it doesn't really matter because Glen Coco can just bide his time right behind him and save fuel, save ERS, save everything as Racer X comes across the line and sets the fastest lap of the GP after making his pit stop onto a fresh set of soft compound tires. The drivers that did have to pit include Racer X, who went on to softs. Honos went on to soft as well. Get that money and run. It's coming out of the pit lane now. He's went on to the hard compound tires. Pecan also went on to the soft compound tires, and Bossman went on to the hard compound tires. We will look at it after the race and see if it was really penalty worthy, because he didn't quite have control of his car whenever he came across the track. But we will have to see his POV and see the inputs, as Glen Coco is right on the diffuser of Greco, and he might be wanting to challenge for this podium position now instead of riding behind him. Let's see what he can do. He will have DRS coming down this front stretch, and he will open her up now, and he will pull to the inside of Greco going into turn 1, and we'll get this pass complete going up into turn 1. And it looks like he outbrakes himself, so Greco pulls up back up alongside, and they are still alongside each other coming into the curve to Grande. A little bit of contact there, wheel-to-wheel contact, but Glen Coco pulls over in front of Greco, slams the door shut, and says, "This is my position," but he goes defensive for the second chicane. Greco goes around the outside in the first part of the chicane and gets the move done. Great move there by Greco, and this beautiful scrap for the final podium position. And all of this battling is allowing Breezy to catch up to these guys. Breezy spun out battling for the lead, so he's going to really be on a revenge tour here to get back onto that podium. This is going to be a killer battle for this final podium position here between Glen, Greco, and Breezy. Glen Coco seems to have a good amount of pace here at Monza as all the drivers come through the Ascari chicane now. Breezy got a little bit out of whack there, had a little bit of oversteer in the middle of the corner. Glen Coco pulls to the right hand side, isn't quite close enough to make a move on Greco. He'll have to wait for this DRS straight. Has a bad run out of Parabolica, so he might be under pressure from Breezy going into turn 1, but he has DRS, and so does Breezy. He pulls to the inside of Greco once again and will get the pass complete. Let's see if he outbrakes himself this time. It doesn't look like he will, and he doesn't. He clips that apex well and puts himself up into P3. But these three drivers are right here neck and neck. Greco has a good run out of that chicane, and he's right there on the rear wing of Glen Coco. He might go for the same move once again. He goes to the outside going into this chicane. Let's see if he's far enough ahead. And he tries it again. They make a slight bit of contact, and here comes Breezy trying to take that position away from Glen Coco, but doesn't quite have enough space to get it done. Greco once again replicating that beautiful overtake 2 laps in a row. Some great driving here being shown by Greco, as now the two drivers of Glen Coco and Breezy look like they'll be battling it out for this P4 position. Breezy right on the diffuser of Glen Coco, but they both have DRS, so it doesn't look like anything will happen here. And oh, Breezy looked to the outside of Glen Coco, and Glen Coco forced him onto the grass. So Breezy will lose quite a bit of time from that one and will not be in this P3 fight for a few more laps here. It'll be left back to Greco and Glen Coco, and that'll allow Black Dino to get right on the back of Breezy. So let's see if Black Dino can stay in that DRS range a bit, pulled up to this battle for P3. As once again we have Greco and Glen Coco. Glen Coco pulls to the inside once again into the first chicane, and he will make the move stick once again with a comfortable 2.5 margin going into the braking zone, but he seems to be out. He seems to be overdriving the second part of the chicane there, but this time he did park the bus and didn't allow Greco to get as good of a run. So it looks like Glen Coco might keep this position for now, going to this second chicane. And yes, he will. Greco is just not close enough, but he gets a really good run there. So now they're coming into the Lesmo corners. Greco is right behind Glen Coco. You can tell that Glen Coco just doesn't have the pace of Greco, but that DRS is really helping him a lot to stay in this battle. As Greco turns up his ERS deployment and pulls to the right-hand side of Glen Coco once again, going into the Ascari chicane. Can he go around the outside? Once again, he overcooks it just a little bit going in, and he runs over the curb just a little bit, gives him a bad exit. So Glen Coco will be looking to attack once again, going into the Parabolica. He pulls over to the inside line. Let's see if he's far enough alongside. It looks like he is. A significant portion is there. They're side by side through the Parabolica. Let's see if Greco can hold on to it around the outside. They're close. They had a little bit of a touch there. They're still side by side, neck and neck, trying to battle for this P3 position. And it looks like Glen Coco was barely behind at the detection zone. So Glen Coco will pull ahead just a little bit going into this first chicane, and he overdrives the corner just a tad. Runs Greco out of room, so Greco has to settle for P4 once again. Great scrap here between these two drivers, between the Haas and the McLaren driver. And you know this is frustrating Greco a ton because he has so much more pace in this, but he's just being held up by Glen Coco, who wants that podium position. He wants that first podium in the UDL League. He wants it. So he's going to try as hard as he can to get on that podium, as now he has two drivers barking at his rear door. And all this battling will just allow Real Black Dino to get in on this battle. Racer X pulls into the pit lane now once again and goes onto the hard compound tires. We're going to stay here with this battle. It looks like Greco and Glen Coco are going to be battling once again in the Ascari chicane. Greco just not quite there yet to be able to get this overtake maneuver done, and he loses it in the second part of the chicane. He has a little bit of oversteer that allows Breezy through, and maybe even Black Dino. Black Dino has a good run on him coming through this out of that chicane. He pulls over to the right-hand side into Parabolica, but he's not quite close enough to take the position. So Greco, with a big mistake there, drops himself down into P4. So now it'll be Breezy's turn to go after Glen Coco and try to take away this podium position. But he doesn't have DRS. Crucially, he did not get DRS on that lap. So Glen Coco might have a good chance of getting by here as Black Dino pulls into the pit lane and put on a fresh set of medium compound tires. I would assume the one-stop strategy is the strategy to use here at this track because the tire degradation is very low, but I wouldn't be surprised if somebody tries to pull out the two-stop. As these drivers are a little bit more spread out now, Glen Coco has around a 7/10 advantage on Breezy. Breezy's pulled in a few tenths on this lap already, and now he is in that DRS range. Crucially, Greco is not in DRS, so Greco will be losing. Oh, yes, he is. He barely made it in. So Breezy will be looking to get Glen Coco's third place position here and get back onto the podium and try to chase down that Red Bull driver of Space Hero in P2 to at least get back to where he was before whenever he spun. As Sniper Pig pulls off into the pit lane to put on a new set of tires. Let's see if anybody else pulls into the pit lane here. Breezy will be going for this undercut on Glen Coco, and so will Greco. Greco's pulling into the pit lane now. Let's see if the Haas driver of Lucas goes into the pits. No, he does not. So Sniper Pig coming out of the pit lane now on those medium compound tires. And it looks like Lucas will get by him here, so he'll be held up just a little bit. Let's see if Man gets by as well on these medium compound tires, these old 10-lap old tires. It doesn't look like he's quite going to be close enough as Bossman retires from the session. So Bossman, a very frustrating day for him. Greco comes out behind Real Black Dino, so Black Dino gets the undercut on Greco, moves himself up into a net P4. And maybe even net P3, depending on how long Glen Coco stays out here. As Man really struggling on those 10-lap old tires. Having a little bit of oversteer moment there. Greco right on the back of Real Black Dino and a little too far onto the back as he makes a little bit of contact with the diffuser of Real Black Dino going through that second chicane. So they come through the Lesmos now. Lesmo 1 so hard. You have to be so committed to drive it through that corner. As now Greco will have DRS assistance to get past Real Black Dino here. Real Black Dino parks it right in the middle of the track, and Greco has to have a little bit of a lift, but Greco gets by the Racing Point driver of Black Dino to put himself up into P8 currently. As Space Hero and Glen Coco peel off into the pit lane now, but I feel like they're both going to lose quite a few positions here. That undercut is very strong in this game. The Sniper Pig comes by now. Let's see who else is going to come by. Man in P3 at the moment. Honos comes through after pitting early because of his that first lap incident. He comes through into P3. Real Space Hero comes out in P4. Breezy jumps Glen Coco in the pit lane. And let's see if Greco can jump him as well. No, he does not. So Greco is still stuck behind his nemesis, Glen Coco, in that Haas seat. As we have another yellow flag in Sector 3. Not quite sure who it's for. It's for Racer X. He has spun once again at Ascari, so he's not having a great day there. Glen Coco and Greco battling it out once again. This time for P6. Greco pulls over to the inside but doesn't quite have enough alongside. So they come through the first Lesmo. Real Black Dino still right there behind these two drivers just like he was before. Crucially, Breezy got past Glen Coco in the pit stop phases. So Breezy will be set free to try to chase down those Red Bull drivers. And it'll be a little tough to catch up to Sniper Pig, but I believe he can catch up to the Real Space Hero with that pace he's shown in qualifying. As Greco takes a very interesting line to the Ascari chicane there. Cuts both left-hand corners, so that'll definitely be looked at if he keeps doing that often. As he is right on the back of the Haas of Glen Coco. Glen Coco taking a very wide approach to the Parabolica to give himself a little bit more straight line speed down this straight. Let's see if it'll pay off for him as Greco has that DRS but isn't quite close enough. Glen Coco has to be running a really slippery, really slippery setup here as he does lock up going into turn 1. So he is not using ABS. One of the only drivers in the league that is not using the ABS assist. I believe Glen Coco actually doesn't use any assist, so props to him for driving as well as he does with no assist. We all know how hard that can be in this game. As Breezy is right on the tail of the Red Bull of Real Space Hero, and there's a Ferrari right behind both of them of Racer X. Racer X is a lap down as Man gets passed by Honos. Man on those 12-lap old medium compound tires. He's going to be looking for this long stint to be able to go onto those soft compound tires at the very end of this race. Real Space Hero will be coming up towards him now, but I'm going to jump back here to Glen Coco and Greco. Let's see if there's going to be an overtake maneuver here at Parabolica. It doesn't look like there will be enough there for Greco. Honos wheels off into the pit lane and will leave his position in the hands of the Alfa Romeo pit crew. It's Glen Coco once again trying to defend against Greco. Greco having a little peek towards the inside, but not quite close enough. He definitely does not have the straight line speed that Glen Coco does. Glen Coco either using a lot of ERS deployment, or he has a really slippery setup in a straight line, which would really make it very, that would be very understandable, as Glen Coco is not exactly the best through the corners right now, especially in the Lesmos, where Greco really shines in the Lesmos, but Glen Coco is so fast down those straights that he can really fend off everybody. He must be running very low downforce as he locks up once again in the second Lesmo. So this will allow Greco to get just that little bit closer with that DRS assistance here on lap 14 up towards this Ascari chicane, going underneath the old oval, but just not quite enough straight line speed for Greco. Just running a little bit too much downforce here in his setup, as we have a couple of drivers side by side up here. Racer X getting lapped by Breezy. Next up to lap him will be Man. He's getting blue flags. Here, let's see if he pulls over to allow Man through or not. He should. But I don't know if he will, as Glen Coco and Greco are most certainly going to be side by side going into turn one this time around. Greco pulls to the outside of Glen Coco. Let's see what they can do going into turn one. And it looks like Greco will make it 6, so Glen Coco will be demoted down into P6 for the time being. But as I was saying before, Glen Coco has the straight line speed advantage for sure. So Glen Coco will definitely be looking to get this position back, as he comes through. They both come through this second chicane now. Hopefully the Ferrari driver of Racer X doesn't get in the way of these two drivers' battle, because this is a great scrap here between these two. As just look at how much time Greco pulls out in front of Glen Coco in the corners, but just look at how much he gets back in this DRS. He has to be running very low downforce. He pulls 3/10 on this shorter straight. Unbelievable low downforce setup here for Glen Coco, as he is only 4/10, now 3/10 behind Greco. Make it 2.5. Let's see if he will be close enough. Not quite close enough for a move into the Parabolica, but he will be close enough for a move into turn one for sure with DRS assistance. He comes around the final corner now, and I'm going to jump up here to Breezy and Real Space Hero. Breezy gets the overtake done onto Real Space Hero. This Man peels off into the pit lane, and Glen Coco goes up into P4 in front of Greco with the help of DRS. And it looks like Lucas and Honos are also going to be battling for position here. Honos has that DRS. He's going to pull to the right-hand side going into turn one, and he will make the move stick on the other Haas driver. He goes a little bit deep, covers him off, makes sure Lucas can't do the cutback, and so Honos up into P7. As Glen Coco and Greco are side by side once again going into the Lesmos. This will be very hard for Glen Coco as he backs out of it. Very smart move there. It looks like Greco went around the outside once again in that chicane. Beautiful show of driving skill here from Greco in this battle, but Glen Coco as well showing a great drive here. Glen Coco goes right back past Greco here on this DRS straight into the Ascari chicane. But Greco has so much more speed in the corners, but just cannot hang on the straights. Glen Coco is pulling away on the straights with Greco right behind him in his rear wing. It's unbelievable. As Breezy sets a new fastest lap of the race on his 6th lap on these medium compound tires with a 123.3, so good race pace out of Breezy, trying to catch up to Sniper Pig and P1, who's just cruising around, I'm sure, at the moment. As these drivers will stay in line here. Glen Coco really struggling in this turn one chicane. He goes a little bit wide, and that will allow Greco to get alongside and go around the outside in the curve de Grande. It's not exactly the most optimal place to make an overtake, but if you have the run, you can get it done. Greco puts himself back up into P4. This scrap between these two drivers is absolutely amazing, as they both run a little bit wide on the exit of the chicane. Glen Coco, if he hadn't hit the grapple there from being excited, he definitely would have had that overtake done for sure going into the two Lesmos. As now Glen Coco has a little bit of oversteer on the exit there, but will continue onwards as he is now in that DRS of Greco. He will be right behind his diffuser going into the Ascari chicane, but not quite close enough to get the move done. But where he will be close enough to get the move done will be the pit straight, or even right here into the Parabolica. He has so much more straight line speed than Greco. Really great show of just how different two setups can be. As he goes a little bit wide there in the Parabolica, that'll lose him just a little bit of time. But he'll gain it all right back and then some in this toe and the DRS as he pulls along to the right side. Once again, this time they'll be side by side into the braking zone. A little bit of contact in the braking zone as Greco is really making his presence known here, but Glen Coco is not giving up. Glen Coco back up into P4. He wants this P4 for this Haas team. That Haas team really in need of some good points here, trying to get that P3 away from the McLaren team. And Haas are really looking for a great points haul here today with both drivers in the points. So this is definitely a huge battle here in terms of the championship, as Glen Coco gets a little bit of a bump from behind from Greco in the first Lesmo. As Glen Coco locks it up in the second Lesmo, and Greco makes contact with his right rear tire and spins straight into the wall. So Greco is retired from the session. Greco is retired for some reason, not quite sure why, but he's not supposed to retire on the track, and I hope this doesn't bring out a virtual safety car. But that incredible battle between those two drivers comes to a sad end. Glen Coco surviving it, but not quite sure that was all Glen Coco's fault. That was more of a racing incident. Glen Coco had a little bit of a lockup going into the second Lesmo, and Greco just turned right into his tire and spun himself out. A little bit of a side pod glitch, throwback to the 2013 days. As now we have another battle on track in the bottom of the points positions. Get that money and run in Pecan. It's not very often I say those two names at the bottom of the points, but they're fighting it out for P9. It's old hard tires versus new medium tires. Let's see which compound will survive here. As it looks like Pecan might just take this position with the help of DRS, but Get That Money and Run is not giving up. They're still side by side going into turn one. It looks like Pecan overdrove it just a little bit, but will get this position away from Get That Money and Run and promote himself up into P9 for 2 points. Very uncharacteristic drive here from Pecan with all the mistakes he has racked up in a huge incident that he caused from spinning out in the Ascari chicane. He is definitely not on form here. So he's really going to have to step it up if he wants to take the fight to Sniper Pig in the Drivers' Championship. Sniper Pig in the lead and Pecan is in P9. He needs to do a whole lot better than this if he wants to continue to fight for that Drivers' Championship win. Going to jump on up here to Breezy. Breezy is trying to put in some fast laps to catch up to Sniper Pig, but we all know Sniper Pig has that relentless pace. Looks like Breezy might be a little faster through the Lesmos, but Sniper Pig might have the straight line speed, and it looks like Breezy is saving a little bit of fuel there, shifting up early. So he might be running a little bit low on fuel here on lap 20 of this GP. As now all the drivers are pretty spread out. Get That Money and Run, who was involved in the first incident at the exit of Ascari chicane. Jesus. Why do I have the hiccups? Really? Do you have to come right now? Anyways, hopefully those go away at some point. Anyways, so Get That Money and Run has been running on 15 laps on these hard compound tires. They have to be falling off here soon. But all he has to do is just poke it home to get that singular point. And he even has room to make an extra pit stop to go onto a set of soft compound tires. As Glenn Coco gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. So that means he cut the course a couple of times. So he's going to have to pull a 3-second gap to Real Black Dino, and Black Dino will know this. So all he has to do is just stay within 3 seconds of Glenn Coco to get that P4 position away from Glenn. Yeah. They might be hilarious to you. I wish you had hiccups right now, bud. Looks like Man is pulling up to the back of Lucas here on this set of soft compound tires. He had a nice long stint on those mediums as he's wearing the pumpkin head and the helmet. So that's pretty nice to see that somebody bought that. You know what else is funny? Jonathan's terrible internet, but yet he's still watching this race. How does that make sense? Oh, he's just laying around not doing anything, missing the race just because he doesn't want to talk. Here I am with a dying voice and hiccups trying to cast this entire race. So yeah, get out of here, John. Just jump up here to the leader of this race, and this gap has closed down by around a second in the last few laps. Breezy really reeling in Sniper Pig here. Well, turn on your hotspot and commentate, bud. Breezy really pushing hard, trying to get up to Sniper Pig, but we'll see if his tires will last this entire time or not. He is going full attack mode now, though. He's not short shifting at all. He is pushing as hard as he can, trying to get up and try to get himself onto that top step of the podium. Yet you're watching this. Come on, bud. It takes a little bit of data to watch a live stream on YouTube. So we'll see if Breezy can catch up to the Red Bull driver of Sniper Pig and maybe get himself onto the top step. He's got a big job to do, though. He has to gain 3.5 seconds in 4 laps. So that'll be very tough for him to do. Looks like Get That Money and Run did take my advice, and he will go for that fastest lap point on those soft compound tires. He had nothing to lose there, so might as well do it. He goes a full second faster than the old fastest lap. It's not close enough to get any extra positions, but close enough to do some damage here and get that extra point. So now Honos gets by Real Black Dino. He has 4 lap fresher, medium compound tires, thanks for his long second stint after his very short first stint from that crash. So he has a couple laps fresher of tires, and he's already drove himself up into P5. So a great drive out of the driver of Honos in that Alfa Romeo team. Great drive from a lot of these drivers. They were fortunate enough to miss that for lap 1 or lap 2 or 3 or whatever it was crash. That allows them to really take advantage and get as many points as possible. So Glenn Coco is all the way up into P4 once again. This will equal his best result, I'm pretty sure. And maybe that was Lucas. It will equal one of the best results for the Haas team other than the one-off races that Apex did in them, where he won the Canadian GP for Haas and got them a lot of points in that weekend, which helped them a lot in that midfield points battle. So we are watching this battle once again between Lucas and Man Man. Man Man missed that second apex just a little bit. Not quite sure if he'll be able to get close enough with this DRS to make a move into the Ascari chicane. It doesn't look like it. Man, that pumpkin head really looks funny. I didn't even notice it had a stem on top. Look at that. That's beautiful. Let's see if we can get a good angle to see it. Look at that stem. Ah, you can't really see it. Hold on. Ah, boo. See it? See that stem on top? That's definitely not very aerodynamic. Actually, it might be putting more air into the air box, keeping the engine cooler. So that means he can run in rich fuel mixture just a little bit longer than everybody else. Look at this. Breezy is only 1.5 seconds behind Sniper Pig. He is pushing hard here with 2 laps to go. 2.5 laps to go here in this Italian GP. He wants this win. He knows it slipped away from him at the beginning of this race. Let's see if he can claw his way back through. This would be an excellent drive out of Breezy to get back onto the top step of this podium. This would not be your typical pole position to race win for Breezy. He's really had to battle his way through. Took a lot of time to get past Glen Coco. Lost a lot of time there. There's a yellow flag in Sector 2. I wonder who that's for. And it is the Mercedes of Man Man. So Man Man spins it out, trying to battle the Haas driver of Lucas. And spins his tires a ton. So he's not going to like those tires very much. And that's a RPM glitch and a half if I've ever seen one. So I'm going to jump back up here to Breezy and Sniper Pig. The battle for the lead is getting even closer. So there are now 2 laps left in this GP. He's only 1.1 seconds behind. Sniper Pig's tires must be falling off, or he might be saving just enough to battle against Breezy. Breezy is now within DRS range going through the second chicane. He lost a little bit of time on the exit, had a little bit of an oversteer moment. But it looks like Sniper Pig's setup is not very good on the tires, and Breezy's most certainly is. So Breezy's really reeling him in here. He's really pushing hard. You can see the oversteer on the exit of every corner. He's really taking as much life out of those tires as possible to get to Sniper Pig. Let's see if he has enough life in those tires to complete a pass and hold on to that position. He comes through the Ascari chicane now, and he's right on the rear diffuser of Sniper Pig. He might go for the move up towards Parabolica. He looks to the outside of the Red Bull driver of Sniper Pig. And he's not quite close enough, but he might go for the cutback here on the exit. Get these damn trees out of the way. Sniper Pig goes wide there, but gets a really good exit. Sniper Pig will be 1/10.5 up on him, but Breezy will have the DRS, and he pulls to the outside of Sniper Pig into turn 1, and Breezy will take over the lead of the Italian Grand Prix here in the UDL F1 League after spinning at around lap 13 and dropping all the way down into P7 or P6. Great comeback drive there from Breezy. Let's see if he can hold on to this P1 and upset Sniper Pig here. I'm going to jump on over to Glen Coco and Honos. Honos is trying to take away that 4th place position from the Haas driver, as the Haas driver of Glen Coco has a little bit of a lockup there. So it looks like Honos will hold on to that position, or will take that position away, I mean, as Sniper Pig's right on the back of Breezy once again. But look at the drive Breezy got out of that second Lesmo. Sniper Pig's tires are definitely not very good right now. I'm going to jump on board to see how much ERS Breezy has. Breezy has barely any ERS deployment left, but Sniper Pig has quite a bit. So Sniper Pig has a little bit to play with here, as he's alongside to the outside. Let's see if he can make this move stick around the outside. Maybe try to get this cutback to work. Not quite, but he'll have a good run coming onto the pit straight as we go onto or come across the line, and Breezy wins this race by 0.04 of a second over Sniper Pig MP2. A fantastic finish here from those two drivers, as now Real Space Hero comes across the line, MP3, to round out that double podium for the Red Bull team. A great points haul for them. Honos comes across the line after that overtake on the last lap to get P4. Glen Coco in P5, a great drive from him. Real Black Dino, his first race back in a while, gets P6 for that Racing Point team. Great points for them. Lucas, P7, Pecan, very frustrated. Drives straight into the wall and is riding and is popped up on his front tire now. He comes across the line in P8. Man coming around Parabolica now. That spin at the very end cost him quite a few positions. He could be up there in P7 right about now. So he comes down to the line now, and he will finish in P9 and get that money and run. Will be the last finisher here. He will go across the line in P10. So a wonderful race here from the UDL F1 League. Things just got very interesting right at the end. Awesome battling throughout the entire race. And Breezy pulls out a win. Barely taking that P1 away from Sniper Pig at the very end of this race. And Sniper Pig will be thinking, what if I just pushed a little bit harder there in that final stint? Got my gap just a little bit bigger. But Breezy celebrating his win here. He had the ultimate pace here around this track, and he really showed it. Pulled in that 5.5 second gap like it was nothing in those last 9 or 10 laps of that GP. Awesome race here. So once again, I'm going to go down the line up here in the finishing order. Breezy comes across the line and wins the Italian Grand Prix here for Williams. Sniper Pig comes across the line in P2 with Real Space Hero in P3 for that double Red Bull Racing podium. Honos comes across the line P4 for a very good points haul for Alfa Romeo. They really needed that to get themselves off of the bottom of the points list. Glenn Coco comes across the line in P5 for the Haas team. Real Black Dino in P6 for Racing Point. Lucas P7 for Haas. Pecan, very disappointing day for him. He'll be looking to do a lot better next week. He comes across the line in P8. Man in P9 for Mercedes. Get that money and run. The last points paying position in the McLaren in P10. Racer X, P11, a lap down. Greco, Bossman, Duck, and who else didn't finish? I don't remember. There were 4 DNFs in that race, but wow, what an incredible race. Thank you all for tuning in here for the UDL F1 League Italian GP. My name has been Mr. Damage. I have been your commentator for this race. And as always, don't remember to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so that you can watch next week's race. Thank you all for tuning in.